I'm delighted to welcome today Marc Singer, who is a mindfulness coach. Mindful and something else I've written, and I can't read my
Mindset
writing.
and performance.
Performance, that's it. Begins with P, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
I've written PERSOC, and I thought that's not right. You're not a PERSOC coach. Right, so mindfulness and personal development coach. Performance, I've still got it. For God's sake.
I'm a personal coach. You got that bit. You are right there. I'm a personal coach.
Yeah, I've had too much sun, Mark. It's absolutely boiling here.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you're a coach, but you're not like a bog standard coach. I've interviewed so many coaches, but you are a very different type of coach. So
the thing is, there's so many, like you said, coaching is so generic in terms of no one really knows what a coach does for a start. And secondly, every coach has different styles, different specialities and so on, you know, so it depends on what you're looking for really. To who you match with. Obviously personality and things are important, but you know, everyone has their specialities. And me specifically, I work with people going through transitions, change in life, who have been through some sort of journey, whether it be physical, psychological or whatever, and they're going through a time where they're, you know, now looking to sort of create a new journey for themselves. And so that's what I work on, but more specifically I work on the mindset, and that's exactly how I work.
Okay, and what led you to that, Mark? Why did you decide to be a mindset coach?
Well, my journey through my life, my personal journey, which I'm going to talk about in a minute, is really what took me in this direction. Because had you asked me 10, 20 years ago, would I be sitting here as a professional coach? The answer would be no. You know, I didn't even know what a coach was then, you know, which is a lot of people still don't. And so my personal journey was what really took me from where I was to where I am now.
So you can't just say that and stop talking. So
okay, where do you want me to start? That's the question.
Okay, 10 years ago you said you weren't even contemplating. So where were you 10 years ago? Let's start there.
Well, where was I 10 years ago? Good question, actually. What's today? It's 2012. I had just begun a life sentence in prison. There you go.
Okay, that's quite profound.
There you go. No, I'm going to fill it out a bit now. No, I was given what's called an IPP sentence in 2011 for a crime I hadn't committed. And for anybody who doesn't know what an IPP sentence is, it stands for Indeterminate Public Protection. It's the equivalent of a life sentence because you've got no release date. And when you get one of these, you're given a tariff, a minimum time that you should serve, but however virtually no one ever gets out on their tariff. It's unheard of, and most people don't get out. You know, the prisons are full up now. There's a campaign about it now because the rules around it were changed by Michael Gove back in 2000 or whenever it was, so it made it easier to get out. However, it wasn't made retrospective. No, sorry, so to scrap the sentence, they banned it. However, when they banned the sentence, they didn't make it retrospective to the people currently serving the sentence in prison. So now the prisons are full up with people languishing. Their suicide rates are up and everything because of this sentence. And I was given it for something I hadn't done. But there's more to the story there. I mean, yes, on the surface, there's an injustice and I was a victim and so on. But the reality is it's my fault, even though I didn't commit the crime. Because my past had led me to that point, and I'd led a reckless past. I mean, when I left school, I got involved in a gang. I was involved in drugs, violence, that sort of thing. And throughout, probably from the age of 15 up to 26, 27, I was in and out of trouble with the police and at football in a gang and so on. And I developed a whole set of negative antisocial beliefs and attitudes, which I, you know, lived my life by. You know, at that time all I wanted to do was create a reputation for myself within my gang, and I wasn't really interested in anything else, and I had no real direction in life. I was working, I had a good job, but other than that there was nothing really, you know, positive. So I managed to break away from that after I had got in trouble a few times with the police, and I changed. On the surface I thought I'd changed my life around. You know, I thought, you know, I was going well. I had a good job. I had a girlfriend. I wasn't in trouble with anything. I wasn't doing anything wrong. I was just going out partying a lot, still taking drugs though at that stage. And so what happened was I got in trouble again. But this time that was the one when I hadn't done it. I was working regularly for a car dealership, and they had a work Christmas party, and crazily they had both rival branches in the same building, and there'd been a lot of animosity between the two branches leading up to this, because one branch had outperformed the other, my branch, and I ended up the year with as top salesman. And there was a bit of an animosity between me and my branch and their branch over that. So long story short, the night started really poorly because I had to work late. I'd lost the deal. I was very stressed out. It was snowing heavily, and I had to get to this hotel, which is quite some distance from where I was working. So I was under stress when I got there. And when I got there, the tensions were high between everybody there. You could see that already. And as alcohol flowed, it got even more tense, let's say. And then eventually what happened was, a young lad, about 1 o'clock in the morning, this is, a young lad who was about 18 who worked for our branch in the mechanics department. He got attacked in the toilet by these 4 guys from this other branch. It was nothing to do with me or anyone else. And my girlfriend happened to be going to the toilet at the same time with his girlfriend. And she came out and they were attacking him, and they jumped in, the girls, and stopped it, or tried to stop it. And they ended up getting attacked by the guys, and the youngest girl had an asthma attack, and my girlfriend sort of defended her. Anyway, long story short, that came to an end. Somebody come and told me about that, and I went out into the corridor to find out what was going on. And then I got confronted by these 4 guys. And I subsequently got beaten up, put in hospital. I was in hospital for 2 weeks. And I was in a very bad way for a while. And I ended up getting arrested for it. And the reason I got arrested for it is because of my past, because I'd done things in the past which I shouldn't have, and I'd been in trouble with the police. And there was one particular occasion in the past where I'd got off with something which the police weren't happy about. And it turns out that they had the same prosecutor and people involved in the case as they had on that previous case, on this case. So put 2 and 2 together, and they charged me. Even though they had no forensic, they had no, independent witnesses or, CCTV or anything like that, nothing. It's literally the 4 guys against me and my girlfriend's word. So I got convicted of it based on my past, because when it went in front of the jury found me guilty because they'd heard about my past. So it's normal. I would have probably done the same thing if I was on that jury. We make assumptions. He's committed it. He's done a similar thing in the past. He must have done this. So I was convicted of something I didn't do. However, I brought it on myself. So I don't see myself as a victim in that sense. So anyway, I started this prison sentence. By now, I've realised that I wanted to change. I wanted to change my beliefs and attitudes, because I realised that I put myself in this situation. And I started really addressing those things. I was doing courses like what I called offending behaviour courses, and these courses are aimed at reducing your risk. And as an IPP prisoner, you have to do these courses. It's mandatory. On theory, they reduce your risk, but a lot of people manipulate the system to just get out. However, I wanted to do them. I wanted to address the problems or issues I had that were holding me back. So I did a lot of work on my beliefs, my attitudes, and everything else surrounded around that situation. It was about 2 years into that sentence when my life just completely changed forever. It started in December 21st, 2013, and my mother died. And she died quite quickly after having cancer, or being diagnosed as cancer, within 2 weeks. And that was she was like my rock. She was like everything in my life. And so that just completely turned my life upside down. And the craziest thing as well, some people understand this, others won't. Anyone who's an animal lover will understand what it's like to lose a pet or an animal that they love. It's like losing a member of the family. I had 21 cats when I went to prison. The day before my mother passed, my cat, and this is really random, my cat, who's my baby, she never left my side. When I went to prison, it broke my heart, and she never left my mother's side. When my mother went into hospital, it wasn't long after. I phoned my father. She was in hospital 8 days, I think. And I phoned my father expecting to hear about my mother. And he was in tears, and he told my cat's died. She died, just died. No, nothing wrong with her. And that really shocked me because I wasn't expecting to hear that. The very next day, my mother died at the same time in the morning. And then, so I had to hold it together because I had to arrange the funeral because my father wasn't in great health. And it was a very difficult thing to do from prison. Not the easiest thing I would ever do. And thankfully, I had help from the prison, and they actually did help me attend the funeral. Even though I arranged it as well, you know, I attended it, but I had a very stark choice. I mean, there was when my mother was still alive, she was in a coma at this stage, and I'd put in to go and see her, and it got authorized. They came to my cell to let me out to go, but then they said to me, "You've got to make a choice." And I said, "What do you mean?" And they said, "You know, you can either go to the funeral, or you can go and see your mother now in hospital." So I had to make that choice, and I had 5 minutes to make it, so I had to stay. I didn't get to say goodbye to her, even though she was in a coma at that stage. I phoned my father. I said to him, "What should I do?" And he said, "Look, she's in a coma. She's not going to hear you or see you. You know, and I need you for the funeral." So I stayed, and it was horrible to have to make that decision. Absolutely horrible. But I held it together, and I managed to get through. And about a few months later, they moved me to a prison which was closer to where my father was. And he visited me once, and he was in skin and bones, and it shocked me because of how much he deteriorated in that 3 months between my mother dying and then. And it was only about, a week later, I was on the phone to him one day, exactly 3 months to the day since my mother passed, and he died of a cardiac arrest on the phone while I'm talking to him. It was just unbelievable. And I had to literally bang up in the cell straight away. I couldn't phone no one or try and find out what was happening. I luckily just phoned my friend Lucy just before I got locked up, just to say, get round my dad's because I think he's died. And not long after, they opened the door to tell me that he had indeed died. Yeah. And and then on top of that, I lost my grandfather as well 4 months later, and he was 97. So it was obviously expected, but still, he was the last immediate family member. All in all, in 1 year, I lost 31 family members, animals and things that I loved in 1 year. So it was very hard to actually sort of keep my head together. I had to, and I sort of buried my emotions to get through it. And then I got to a period about a year later where I found out something which sort of tipped me over the edge. And it was my ex-girlfriend who I still loved, was now seeing my best friend. And I sort of just went to pieces. And I took an overdose and nearly died. And it was only because my friend was close by and he saved me and he gave me CPR that I managed to come out of it. But that was sort of my awakening. That was my turning point. Because after that, I sort of made a pact with myself then, never to be a victim again, and also to take full responsibility for my thoughts, feelings and actions and get myself the heck out of prison and build a life for myself. Even though at that stage, everyone was still saying, you're never, ever going to get out of prison. 3 years later, I got out of prison. I started working like mad. I was doing a degree. I was teaching critical reasoning skills, and I was doing mentoring of kids in there. But one thing I did do is I did a business course. And during that business course, they said to me, come up with a business idea. And the first thing that popped into my mind, and God knows where it came from, was life coach. And from there, I had to research the business, what life coaching was. And it turned out that I had all the attributes and skills associated to that. And I thought to myself, you know, I might be a good life coach. I forgot all about it for about a year or so. Or no, more than that, 2 years. And it was only when I got out of jail that I went to have counselling and therapy to deal with the emotional baggage that I've developed and built up. And none of that worked for me. So I went into coaching after that, and I had a bit of coaching, and that sort of worked for me. And it sort of triggered me. I decided there and then, it was about a year after getting out of jail, where I just literally drifted. I had no real direction or nothing. Everything I knew had gone. And I just thought, sod it, I'm going to go for it. And I had the faith in it. And I invested something like £15,000 in the top school I could find in the world. And I thought, if I'm going to do it, I'll do it properly. And 2 years later, I graduated as a professional coach. And here I am.
Well, so,
and that's what I'm doing now.
Okay, you breezed through a few bits of that. So obviously, we don't have the luxury of time here. How did you get out of jail after starting off telling us that nobody gets out of jail and everybody languishes or commits suicide? How did you get out?
Do you know what? and this is the sad part of the story, and it is, if it hadn't been for what I'd lost, my losses, I would still probably be in there. I might have got out later on, I don't know, but it's because of the way I dealt with it and the way I worked through it. And like I said, attempted to, threw myself into working, attempted to change my life and so on. And they just got to the point where they just said basically that you got to go. They didn't want it. They did. And ironically, the IPP license, which is you never get rid of it. It's a life license. I'm the first person in the UK who's getting theirs removed in November.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I'm now working with them. I'm doing talks in prisons and stuff like that now. So I'm now working with them to help others, So, yeah.
Brilliant. That's a remarkable story. So you're writing a book?
I am, yeah. Yeah, my book's called To Hell and Back and Then Some, which is, again, it's going to be pretty much a longer version of my story, but it's also a story about everybody else, which is what I want it to be. I want it to be something that we can all read and we can all recognize that we're going through to some journey to hell and back and then some. And it's just down to you whether you go on and do the then some. We can all go to hell and back, but the then some takes a different type of mindset. And that's the message behind what I'm trying to put across, is that I went to hell and back just like anybody else does, but now I'm doing the then some. And that's the message I want to sort of put across there. So yeah, it's going to be about my journey mainly, and how it works, how you can use that to help you.
So you mentioned you were a naughty boy. Where did all this naughtiness take place?
Well, mainly in Watford, where I'm from. Yeah, and like I said, I mean, when I left school, I mean, I know exactly where, because when you analyse your beliefs and your attitudes, you have to go right back to the root. You don't necessarily have to know where it comes from to change them, but it helps if you do. And with me, I established that my unhealthy beliefs and attitudes were developed during a period when I was probably about 13 or 14, and I was beaten up regularly at school, racially bullied, and I developed this belief in my mind then: never allow anyone to intimidate you or bully you, and if they do, always stand up to them using aggression or violence. That was the belief I developed, because I realized that because I started standing up for myself and thought to myself, well, that works, and that sort of belief stuck. And then when I left school, I got involved in this gang at football, and I just fell in love with the whole scene, because anyone who understands like the Mods and the Rockers scene, for instance, will understand this, because it's not like skinheads, tattoos walking around smashing everything up. It's very similar to the Mods and the Rockers, and in the casual scene, the subculture scene, all about the clothes, about the music. There's a lot more to it other than just having a punch up, but that happens, and that's part of the scene. So I fell in love with that scene, not just so much the violence, it was the scene, but the violence became part of it. And in my mind, I wanted to be the number one. I wanted to be the one everyone respected or feared, but I didn't. I saw fear as respect back then. And I recognize now the people who I used to look up to aren't really people. They didn't command respect; they commanded fear. But as a kid, you think that's respect.
And you're still in the same area, so do people remember you as the naughty?
Oh yeah, I mean, this is one of the things I've tried to shape for years. I mean, most obviously my friends and people close to me know who I am right now. A lot of the people I know from back then have moved on with their lives and they're doing positive things now. But you do get a few people who never move on with their lives, and they just stay in the same place, and that's works for them fine. But I think most people know what I'm doing now, because obviously I do my stuff on social media and everything. But the reputation that I did develop, it took me years to sort of shake, because once you got it, you don't want it. You want a reputation for something that's actually decent and good. And so yeah, it wasn't something I enjoyed, and I still get it occasionally. Someone will talk to you about violence or something and think that you're going to be interested, and it's not pleasant. I'll just make my excuses and move away if that happens.
How long were you in prison for, Mark?
Well, that particular time was 6 years. Like I had been in trouble before, years before, but that particular time was 6 years. Yeah, so it was a long time.
So you had been in prison as a young man before?
Yeah, younger, only smaller sentences, 8 months and twice, 8 months and 10 months, but that's for football fighting.
Right.
So it wasn't anything really serious. But this is why I got the IPP, you see, because had I not been in trouble in the past, they wouldn't have given me the IPP. I'd have just got a normal sentence. That's why I got the IPP, because I'd been in violence and fights and stuff like that in the past and been convicted of a few things. And because of that, they gave me the IPP. That's the exact reason.
Do you know whatever came of those four young men who beat?
Oh, the ones who beat me up. Not well. Saying that, they went to court, and one of them got an award. It was unbelievable, to be fair. He got an award for restraining me.
Oh.
Even though he didn't restrain me, he beat me up. But that was the story they put across, you see. That it was me attacking them, and they restrained me, and that was that. The police didn't want to admit that I even got beaten up. It was only when I brought the photos up. So, you know, it is what it is. But you can't look back and, you know, pull it apart. Like I said, you know, none of that would have happened had I not acted the way I acted in the beginning. You know, so it's the law of attraction at the end of the day. Yeah, we create good, we create bad without even realizing we're doing. This is why I now work with people doing what I do, because none of us are performing to the potential that we can. 50% of our potential, most of us ever perform to. And there's no reason why we can't do better, because all that's stopping us doing that is what we think, what we believe, our limiting beliefs and our fears, our assumptions and interpretations of situations. And if we have, we lack the awareness to notice those or see them for what they really are, then we allow them to dictate our life for us. And if we allow that to happen, then we're never, ever going to be performing at a good, high energy level. We're going to be just bubbling along somewhere. And that's why we don't create the lives that we truly want. That's why the law of attraction doesn't work for most people, because if you're trying to visualize some great life, but you don't truly believe that it's possible in there, how likely is it you're going to bring it to fruition? I mean, the truth is you won't. Yeah. So there's no point even trying to visualize something unless you believe it first, which is why it's important to sort that part of it out first before you even try.
Absolutely spot on. And that's in the work that I do with helping people reverse serious illness, even stage 4 cancer, as I've reversed my own stage 4 cancer in 2015, and I did it in 3 months. Nobody tells me I'm going to die within a year. Exactly. I make that choice, you know. So I had a truly deep belief that there's no way I'm going to die. I'll die when I'm ready, thank you very much.
Yeah.
And I see the people that I mentor in the health realm, I see those who are literally frightening themselves to death, worrying themselves to death, and those who are so on it that they're invincible, and they will they will recover, no question. So it doesn't matter what areas of life, if you don't have a deeply held belief that X, Y, Z is going to happen. No, nothing to do with it. No.
You've got 60-year-olds who look like 25-year-olds, and you've got 25-year-olds who look like 60-year-olds. So it's all about what's in there.
Absolutely.
You know? And this is the thing. I mean, you know, a lot of people put a lot of prevalence on my journey in terms of the prison stuff. To be totally honest with you, it was the coaching education that changed my life. Not the that did set me in the right direction, but until I got to that point, my life changed as soon as because I learned a philosophy that changed my life, and it took me time to learn it and start practicing it and becoming it. And that's my journey between there. That's the real journey, because that was not easy. I accept myself, accept everything I've ever done, accept the good and the bad, the blame, the guilt, and, you know, become much more consciously aware of everything that I do. Be in the moment. I don't worry about anything anymore. Used to worry all the time, overthink about everything. Now I don't at all. And that's all down to the philosophy that I now live by and work with. And so it just changes you as an individual. I mean, I couldn't do what I do now without a coach either. You know, I did try it for a while, for about 6 months, and I thought I'll self-coach. I can do it myself. I don't need anyone else. And then all of a sudden I see my results and just general things just slipping downwards, like, you know, slowly. But so, yeah. So I think it's important to be able to understand how your mindset works.
Absolutely.
In order to sort of really create what you want.
And the importance of having other people guide us as well, because it doesn't matter who we are, what we know, how good we are or whatever, we get in our own way, like you said, we overthink things. So we work at an emotional level, but then we get in our way with the intellectual side of things. We over intellectualize everything.
This is so true. And you do, and when you break it down, it's so simple to stop doing it as well, but it's hard to actually do it in practice. So I think that's why we do need help, because so many people read self-help books or watch documentaries about how to sort this, and we start to do it ourselves or try to do it ourselves, like The Secret or whatever, and then find that it doesn't work, and then we start questioning ourselves. We question this, question that. And the reality is, it's very hard to do something ourselves, as I've just explained. I mean, like, if you don't have that sort of guidance in something, you're only going to see things from your perspective, which is one of the reasons why we're in that situation in the first place.
And then here comes again the law of attraction. What we believe is what happens. If
Exactly.
the number of people who are frightened of having a heart attack, and how do they die? They have a heart attack.
Of course.
People. Is it famous actress? I can't remember what her name is. I can see her in my mind's eye. She was frightened of drowning, and what happened? She drowned.
Okay.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. No, you're right, and this is probably one of the reasons why. I mean, I've been a bit of a. I used to be. People used to tease me that I was a hypochondriac. I used to go, but I think I was more of an attention seeker than a hypochondriac. But yeah, I mean, in general, I've always had a very clear mindset in terms of my health. I've always felt younger than I am. I've never put a cap on it. I won't tell myself, "Oh, you're old now. You got to rein it in," or something like that. I've always lived my life like how I feel, and now I feel like I'm better than I was when I was 20, because I'm happy. And I wasn't happy then, and that's what it comes down to: how we feel. And so, not how you look. And if you feel good, you look good.
Yeah, it's from the inside out, isn't it? Health, beauty, everything is from the inside out. And if you're good on the inside, then you glow on the outside. It sounds cheesy, but that's fact, isn't it?
Yeah. So it's important, therefore, to understand our emotions. and it's surprising. I find it surprising how many people don't recognise that our emotions are created by what we're thinking. They think emotions happen to us. They don't. So if we can control our thinking and what we're thinking about anything situation, we can control our emotions, and if we control our emotions, we can control everything in our life.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
I was trained personally about 30 years ago by Bob Proctor. I don't know if you've heard of Bob Proctor.
I have.
He's one of the secret authors in the movie and whatnot. So I learned then about thoughts, feelings, and actions, and there was. He talks about it. You can still see on YouTube lots of videos of him talking about the stick person. So there's a Dr. Thurman Fleet in 1934 created a picture of the mind, because they realised back then that it was important to understand the mind. But how can you understand something that you can't visualise, because a lot of us think in pictures. So he created this drawing of a stick person, and so you have the head, so the head. And imagine a line across the nose. He said that the top half of the head is the conscious mind, below the nose is the subconscious mind. Then the body is the feelings, and then you have an arrow going out of the stick arm, and that's the results, actions and results. So you've got thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. So if the results aren't what you want, it's because you've been feeling and thinking the wrong things, and everything's all connected.
Exactly. So, and that's law of attraction.
Yes, exactly.
That's exactly it.
Yeah.
See, this is another thing I think people get confused with all this sort of stuff. They get put off by it, especially men. They think it's all about the universe and stuff like that. And I think I've been on like meetings where someone will start talking about the universe, and you'll see people switch off. Because we've developed, and it comes back to what we said about those blocks to our thinking, where we've already assumed we know what's going to be said, or we've already told ourselves a story about what's happening. Oh, it's a load of nonsense. And I think we talk ourselves out of like even opening up to these sort of things. I don't know why.
I've stopped talking to people now that I can immediately see, hear by their body language, by their verbal language, that they're closed people, and I've got no time for that anymore, because
no, you can't.
You know, when you're given well, I was told that I would die within a year. It's a switch, you know, like you had your switches, and things change. Your own perceptions change, and I'm not wasting time with people.
They will find their own journey. I mean, this is the thing, you know,
and it's not up to me to change.
You can't
somebody.
change people.
No, exactly.
No.
So
I'm quite particular about this, actually, because if I'm working with a one-to-one client, and I get a lot of people like obviously getting in touch, asking me, can I help them with this or whatever, I'm quite stringent in the process before I start working with somebody to make sure that they're 100% dedicated to do what we're going to do. Because if they're not, if they've got any doubts or questions, or, you know, they're talking themselves out, or then the reality is they won't commit to the work, and you won't move forward. And that's the thing. So people have to find things in their own time. So I'll just say, like, come back to me in 6 months' time when the timing might be right for you. But but it's the truth. What comes back, what you just said there, because so many people will go through life, and it will take something drastic, unfortunately, to make us wake up and see things in a different light. You know, in your case with the cancer, in my case with the prison, it took those drastic experiences to sort of help you see things in a different way. And thank God it did, in a way, because, you know, from my perspective, certainly I would not be living. Don't get me wrong, I'd have my family back in a second, but you've got to be in reality as well. And if you're going to go through a situation which is life-changing like that, you've got to use it to your advantage. You know, there's no point sitting there being a victim. You've got to use it to your advantage. And
I feel that we have a duty. We have a duty and responsibility to share what we know with other people as well. We can't just keep it to ourselves. And I've been told off big time recently, because I've not been shouting enough about what I do and how I help people.
Well, there you go.
I'm kind of putting my big girl pants on and saying, right, well, actually, I am shit hot. I do this. I can help you. I can give you extra life in your years and so on. And typically my clients would have been sent home by the NHS that they can't do any more with them, and basically told to put their affairs in order. And many of them I've been able to give an extra 1-2+ years, and some we've even turned around. So it really depends on how committed somebody is to making changes.
It's the belief thing, isn't it? It's the belief. Again, it's the same thing. The belief. You know, if you believe it enough, you will commit to doing something enough to see it happen. If you're half-hearted or you're not committed, then you won't. And this is the thing. I mean, I think a lot of people are coming around to being a bit more open-minded, if that makes sense. I mean, one of the things I do is I focus on working, and it took me a while to get to this point, actually. I work with a lot of men who are not just particularly from working class sort of backgrounds, but people who are general, you know, man's man sort of guys who maybe won't want to open up to professionals who they see as having, like, you know, I don't know how do you word it, a stigma attached to them. Because I've had this with so many guys where they'll say, oh, I don't want to be patronized, or I don't want to be spoken down to, or I don't want someone to judge me, you know. And I think the belief there is that, you know, because someone's from a different background, perhaps they're going to sneer down their nose at somebody and judge them, maybe because they took drugs or whatever it may be. Because my situation is very similar to what they might have experienced in the past in terms of the drugs and the gangs and stuff like that, they feel that I won't judge them. So I do get a lot of guys from that sort of background or sort of demographic, and I feel that, you know, it's from what I can see, slowly, that sort of demographic, men, like, you know, proper alpha male types, are opening up more and more to being, you know, doing this sort of stuff.
Yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So, right, how do people get hold of you, Marc?
Right, good question. Any way you want. You can contact me via my website, which I'll give you the details for. I'm also on Facebook. I do my live weekly 10 show every Wednesday on Facebook. That's a 10-minute show I do. I do a podcast as well, which is also on YouTube. So you can pretty much catch me on any of the platforms. If you go on with Marc Singer Coaching, Marc with a C, by the way, Marc Singer Coaching, and you'll find me. And like I said, you can contact me through the website as well, or email.
Just sort of one more question. You said that when you were bullied at school, it was racial. How come?
Yeah. Well, I'm Jewish and I'm white, and it was Asian kids, and they were beating me up because I was Jewish and white.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Ridiculous.
I went to a school in Harrow around here, and I was there like, 5 months before my parents pulled me out of the school. there was 14 white and black kids in the whole school, and they all got bullied really badly. So yeah,
goodness,
horrible. But I'd never experienced anything racially, you know, or racist before that. But yeah, that sort of was a bit of an experience.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that still goes on today, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
The judgments, the you know, the assumptions and whatnot.
It's
very,
everywhere.
Very bad, but you know, that's life, isn't it? We have to learn how to do it.
Well, the way you're going to do it, I mean, look, you can't escape the bad things in life. You can't, you know, you can be a victim. Like we just said there a minute ago, you can be a victim to me. I've had people say to me, I'm so sorry you had to go through that. You know what? I'm not. Had I not gone through that, I wouldn't have developed resilience. I wouldn't have developed inner strength or determination. And those are the qualities that got me through the situation when my parents died. We develop qualities from our experiences. So every time you go through something negative in life, don't look at it as a negative. Look at it as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you can do that, you're going to be taking away nuggets of gold that you can use in the future moving forward. So it's all about how you think about things.
Exactly. And being able to look at stuff and then disassociate from the emotional baggage that maybe you were carrying previously and acknowledge it for the golden nugget and
I mean it's also often, how many times do we all do this? We have a bad experience and it's later on in life we'll look back and go, you know what, I learned quite a lot from that. But wouldn't it be great if we could do that in the midst of a bad experience? Instead of seeing everything that's going wrong around us, we're looking at, actually, I could be, this is actually quite a positive situation for me. And if you focus on that, all of a sudden, all the things that are wrong about the situation sort of fade away a little bit.
Yeah, that's the magic that happens. I get into trouble time and time again for being overly positive. And people say to me, how can you be so positive when this and this has happened? I say, well, if that hadn't happened, this wouldn't have happened. And so it goes on. And they go, oh, right, okay, yeah. And when I tell people I've had 4 different cancers, their face, oh, I'm so sorry.
Well, there you go.
No,
exactly.
why are you sorry? You know, I wouldn't be me here today. Exactly, absolutely. So we rock. We rock.
Our car's going past at the moment. Sorry about that. Sorry, say that again.
We rock.
Yeah, we do. And this is the quest to get more people or help more people do exactly the same. Because there's so many people out there. You spend 10 minutes watching the news, you'll be forgiven for wanting to think the world's coming to an end. Well, so it's important to be able to think in a productive way. So this is our mission, really, is to help as many people as possible do that.
Absolutely, stopping the media, the newspapers. I haven't bought a newspaper or
I don't watch it anymore.
News for over 25 years.
No, I don't blame
Complete and utter waste of time, and it's just doom.
It's just fear. It's just fear, and you know, like I said, I stopped watching about 2 years ago now. But no, if you could be in a totally great frame of mind, you're going to turn the telly on 5 minutes, you're depressed. It's just not worth it.
No, I don't have a telly. I haven't got time.
You're better off.
Yeah, I don't have time to watch telly. I'm too busy being busy. Right, okay. Lovely to speak with you, Mark. And I'm sure this interview would have inspired lots of people to get off their backsides and start doing something positive for themselves. So just give us your website again.
Yeah, it's www.Marc, that's with a C, so MARC, Singer, all one word, SINGER, coaching. So marcsingercoaching.co.uk.
Okay, fabulous. Thank you, Mark.
My pleasure.